Sometimes people ask me, what is soul level astrology? And soul level astrology is a name I came up with when I launched my professional practice as a consulting astrologer in the San Francisco Bay Area. Right at that time, there was a public TV interview series between Bill Moyer and Joseph Campbell called The Power of Myth. And in that, Campbell, near the end of his life, put out a call for new stories. His diagnosis of the illness of society was that we desperately needed a new creation myth. The old stories were bankrupt and we needed a new one. And I realized that if I was going to become a professional astrologer, I was going into the business of telling people new stories. Because astrology, when it comes down to it, is nothing but a story, a new story. But if I was going to come up with stories, I wanted a story of the soul to replace stories of ego, stories of limitation, stories of narrowness and bigotry um, and obsolete stories that were tearing the world apart. I wanted stories that could put things back together again in a magically real way. I wanted stories of the soul. Even though I didn't know as a young astrologer, I was about 33 years old, even though I didn't know exactly how I was going to go about doing that, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I also knew I needed some way to distinguish myself as a young astrologer because there were many, many astrologers in the San Francisco Bay, and but no one was doing soul level astrology. So I printed up my first business cards with soul level astrology, and then over the years, I learned how to make good on that. I learned what that really meant, and what it turned out to mean is my approach, which is unlike some astrologers. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I don't feel that's my job. What I do feel is my job is to hook you into the part of yourself that already knows what to do, what I call your core nature or your soul. And if all of my skill can link your everyday consciousness with your deeper self, then I don't have to worry so much about telling you what to do because your inner nature has more access to your everyday self. And and while I'm doing that, I'm painting it with words, an impressionistic portrait of how I see you. I use the birth chart and all of my training in astrology to portray a portrait of you. If that portrait rings true with some deep inner part of yourself, it's going to activate that part of you that knows exactly who you are, why you came here, and where you need to go. That's what I call the soul. The part of you that was in other bodies, in other lifetimes, before it entered the current body in the current lifetime. It's on a mission, on an artistic mission, to find the way to express its massive creativity out into the world, to gain recognition for being who you really are, to gain a recognition for being true to yourself, rather than gaining recognition for being false to yourself, which is by far the dominant type of recognition in the world at large. If you can put on an ego mask and fool a whole lot of people, you'll get all the rewards, you'll get all the money, you get all the recognition. But an astrology from the soul, or a life lived from the soul, isn't about impressing everybody else with the dazzling of how much power you can have over them, as it is being true to the love that you really are. And that's what I'm using my astrology readings, my classes, and the book that I wrote that's just about to come out, The Ruby Heart of the Dragon. All of those things are my attempt to make good on Joseph Campbell's final request to come up with new creation myths.